with the public so we can verify what the EPA is saying before they lose their jobs over unverified studies. I urge all of my colleagues to vote for this legislation, and with that I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentlewoman from Texas.
I reserve at this time.
The gentlelady reserves her time, so we'll go back to the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to yield 2 minutes to the Representative, Mr. Cramer.
The gentleman from North Dakota is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Schweikert, for yielding. My colleagues and the sponsor have done a good job of describing what the bill is and what it does and what is why it's necessary. I want to talk a little bit about what's at stake. I think the first thing that we have to consider that's at stake is the unilateral disarmament of the American economy by virtue of destroying really our global competitiveness. It's an interesting time to talk about it. Our president just came back from making a deal in China, a climate deal in China, where the Chinese are allowed to continue to pollute for 16 years, create more jobs of their own, and take some of ours, while we put standards and requirements, emissions requirements on our industries that won't be able to keep up and put our jobs at risk. In my home state of North Dakota, there are 4,000 megawatts of low-cost electricity, and the jobs that producing that electricity creates and the competitiveness that that electricity provides for our economy that's at stake, all based on EPA rules that are based on some 1970s, decades-old data and studies that are only available to the bureaucrats. We have, for example, in western North Dakota, a brick plant in Hebron Brick, that is subject to the MACT rule, a rule based on studies that are tightly held, again, and only visible to the bureaucrats. We have countless acres of private farmland and ranch land in our state and the states around us that have been owned privately for generations. It's up for grabs if this waters of the U.S. rule has continued to go forward, a rule that it took forceful inquiry by the Science, Space, and Technology Committee to reveal the secret maps that the EPA was creating as part of this massive land grab. It really comes down to this, Mr. Chairman. We are at a time in our country when there is very, very low confidence in the public, in our government. I'm just saying, let's restore America's confidence in America's government. And let's provide the one great safeguard to corruption that we can provide, and that's transparency. I thank you for the time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Arizona reserves. And gentlelady from Texas recognized.
I reserve.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized.